Hello there, Reject Nation. I'm Greg Alba.
And I'm John Humphrey.
We are going to watch the trailer for The Kingsman. Matthew Vaughn returning for a prequel. This is exciting. So I wanted to give a shout out really quick to the folks behind Dark Web. I'm going to be hosting a panel at Comic-Con this Friday, July 19th at 1:30 p.m. at the Horton Grand Theater. It's the same day the Dark Web series premieres on Amazon. It's an 8-episode serialized anthology series. Has a wide variety of cast members in there. For example, you got Nicholas Brendan, Claire Kramer, Lana McKissack, Michael Nardelli, who's been on this channel before, Naomi Gonzalez, Simbangele Imlambo. I think I said that right. I'll master it by this Friday. So if you're at SDCC this weekend, make sure to come by. If you have Amazon Prime, make sure to check out this series. It was an independently funded series. The trailer, you guys can go watch it online right now. We did a reaction to it as well. It looks fantastic. I'm excited to be a part of this panel. I'm excited to check out this show. They're going to be sponsoring a few videos over the next 2 weeks. I'm excited to be partnered up with them in general. Anyway, on to the movie.
Throughout time, our people robbed, lied, and killed
Ray Fiennes.
until one day we found ourselves noblemen.
Rasputin.
But that nobility never came from chivalry. It came from being tough and ruthless.
Whoa.
Real power is not found running off to war. Real power lies
The house.
in understanding who it is you're truly fighting. And how they can be defeated.
Some shots remind me of Wonder Woman.
Yeah, I was gonna say, won the World War I setting.
Wow.
Whoa.
Matthew Vaughn shots.
I know you want to fight, but there are other ways of doing your duty. Come on.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Fascinating. Well, it definitely looks different than the first two Kingsman movies. This looks a lot more serious. I'm sure it'll have like some Matthew Vaughn humor infused in here. Here, Aaron Taylor Johnson's in this too.
Yeah.
Returning with his kick-ass lead.
I think he's gonna be a relative of Eggsy's because their characters have the same last name.
It's
Yeah.
an Eggsy's DNA.
Yeah.
He was always meant to be.
Exactly.
Kingsman.
Chosen one. The
Yeah.
prophecy of the Kingsman stitched into a lapel somewhere.
Yeah, I like that he's able to take a different aesthetic for this one. He's directed the first two.
This is like his Transformers. He's just gonna make these movies forever.
Essentially, I mean, he seems like he's very passionate about it. I know that he wants to launch a TV show as well. I do wonder how well this one would do, though. I know that Kingsman: The Secret Service was a big hit. The Golden Circle, from what I remember, is that people were saying that it didn't perform as high as people had hoped it would perform. It seems like he really wants to like bring this whole universe to life. It has its own comic book series, sort of. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I feel like this was one of those ones that was like, it's a comic book, but the comic book's being written alongside the movies.
Yeah.
So it doesn't feel like a traditional adaptation.
Yeah, exactly. It's not one of those franchises where the fans of the comic are so
Yeah.
invested and then they get the movie. So it's a little bit of a different franchise. I think the movie looks really cool. I've never really watched the Kingsman movies going, I wonder how this all formed. You know, I've always kind of
Yeah.
liked the mystique. I don't think like any of this would detract or undermine any any of the world building they've done, because they do have a really cool world. I think part of what's made the Kingsman franchise so awesome is the exploration of, you go to Britain, then you go to America. This could be awesome. It looks like really intense, this one. It looks like a full-on war movie, actually.
Yeah. One, if I recall the original movie right, they said, the Kingsman was founded in World War I. So I like when movies like this go back into historical periods like that, and especially with the potential that leaves you for cheeky nods to like, oh, they were involved in some kind of historical event. Wonder Woman vibes aside, I just think the aesthetic is really cool. We don't really go to World War I as much as a lot of other periods in history, I feel like. Just as an aesthetic ear note, I think that's exciting to me, and to see what they're gonna do with the history, because I guess the plot of this is they're trying to stop World War I or something akin to World War I, because it's all these leaders of the world who want to start this massive war that they're trying to go up against.
We have the IMDb right here.
Yeah.
As a collection of history's worst tyrants and criminal masterminds gather to plot a war to wipe out millions, one man must race against time to stop them.
Yeah.
Yep, that doesn't really tell me much.
Nope. This kid's gonna get inducted into the Kingsman. They're gonna be like, only you for some reason can do this.
I'm also thinking, Jimon Hansu, he's like the secret, comic book actor.
I know. He is just everywhere.
Guardians of the Galaxy, Captain Marvel, Shazam, now Kingsman.
Yeah.
I didn't realize he was in this movie.
Let's get him in the next X-Men movie. Let's get him in everything.
It doesn't look like one of those prequels where it's all about, remember this one? They have the nods here of the mansion and how they brought the Taylor store to life and whatever. It looks like it's really doing its own thing. I was a little taken aback by how invested it was in this World War I plot line. Got a little bit of vibes of, what was that Benedict Cumberbatch movie? The Intimidation Game? The Imitation Game. I got a little bit of those vibes as well, because this seems like it's gonna be like a political thriller, and I didn't expect that going into this. I thought the trailer would just be like a really cool, fun, fast, but Kingsman.
Yeah, exactly.
And I didn't see any of that like signature trademark action, only just like a little nugget of a few shots, but it was in such serious moments. I'm pretty surprised by this. He helmed X-Men First Class. In some ways, I get a little bit of that vibe in terms of how X-Men First Class was marketed, where that felt a lot more serious in its trailers than the movie actually was. And I'm sort of wondering if that's what we're getting here.
I gotta feel like the attitude of Kingsman will hold true.
It has to, right?
Yeah. Like there's a universe that it exists in that has a personality that I don't imagine going away. Although, what does excite me about a prequel like this, big part of the Kingsman movies is crazy gadgets and crazy technology. And while I'm sure they'll have a version of that, I'm always excited to see like what the old time version of that would be back when things weren't as crazy.
Well, I was saying Imitation Game because this feels more like a spy thriller.
Yeah, exactly.
As opposed to, like a Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy kind of thing. Yeah. It feels more like that and less of, oh, cool action movie. Even though it doesn't look like it's doing any of like the typical prequel stuff, at least with character-wise, I couldn't tell if that one guy Ray Fiennes was like interacting with was supposed to be Colin Firth. Yeah, Harry, but I don't think it is, because that would make Harry like so old.
Yeah.
By the time
he would be ancient.
He's like 90 in those Kingsman movies. That's crazy.
Older than that, yeah. So we're 100.
What the hell? Yeah. I'm wondering if there's going to be some tie-in. Baby boy Harry shows up at the end of the movie, because it makes me wonder if, kind of like X-Men First Class, but by how old this is, if it's going to be a Rogue One situation where it's just a one-off, or can they make their own franchise out of this?
Just
out
keep
of
on
this one, because I know they want to do like a Kingsman 3 as well.
Yeah.
But, would that be confusing to, like, the titles just have a slight different pronunciation?
Yeah. Kingsman is everything to do with Eggsy, and Kingsman is all these other times in history or
Would that
something?
be confusing for audiences? Should it even make the attempt to truly tie in? Maybe that's Michael Caine's character, or like ties into that a little bit more towards the end of it or something,
Maybe. I only hope that the action isn't like crazier than all the action we know will happen in the future, because that's the one thing that drives me crazy about prequels, is when you watch something that's like way before and somehow appears way more sleek and high tech than what you know is in the future.
And the other thing too is this looks like a bit of an epic. As much as like a grounded spy thriller, I really like the music behind it too. This looks bigger in stakes in a more personal way.
Yeah.
Because World War I
Yeah.
So I wonder if he's kind of feeling like he has to treat it a little bit with some sensitivity.
Honestly, I think that might be a cool thing to see, just because the Kingsman movies have their aesthetic 100%, especially with a new cast of characters and a time period setting that is very real and very tangible. I would love to see them kind of strike a different chord with this group of people,
Yes.
you know?
One thing that this trailer didn't really give me, though, that I kind of would have liked, because what they're teasing right here is the story and the exploration, a little bit of the plot. The first two Kingsman movies have such a big charismatic lead. I mean, with Colin Firth and Taron Egerton, and here's like, yeah, Ray Fiennes looks like, really serious, as I usually imagine him to be.
Yeah. Well, people seem pretty amped for that guy from Trust, the young guy, the young dude who looks like he's the recruit. Like,
Yeah.
people are pretty excited to see him get a lead role like this.
But I think this would have to kind of sell us on a lead character, too.
Yeah.
Because I don't know how invested the fans of the Kingsman franchise are. Like, yeah, I really got to check out the origins of the Kingsman world.
Yeah, totally.
It's one of those things where when I hear like Matthew Vaughn talk about it, who I think is an amazing director, I really like Golden Circle, actually.
Yeah, I had a good time.
It seems like there's a bit of a split with audiences and critics on how they ultimately felt about that film. But I loved it. Just to see him at least, dipping his toe into the past with a completely different kind of vibe is very interesting to me.
Well, and if you want to keep a franchise alive, I feel like that's a smart way to go about it.
Yeah.
Mix
course.
it up, try new things.
Of course. All right, guys. Well, thank you for watching. Are you excited for The Kingsman? Make sure to leave a comment below. You guys can subscribe to the Reject Nation. Click that notification bell. Make sure to watch the new 8-episode series, Dark Web. Premieres Friday, July 19th on Amazon. And before we wrap this up, I would like to give a Patron of the Day shout out to a man named Kurt Anderson. If I'm going to talk about you, I'm going to talk about two things. One, how sexy you are.
Oh, yeah.
Two, how old you are.
Oh, yeah.
So, Kurt Anderson, he seems like a dude who could be timeless. He could tell me he's like 150 years old and that he's fought in some great wars before,
yeah.
and he still looks as good as he does. Because the guy can rock a suit. I've never seen him in a suit, but you look at him and you're like, this guy can rock a suit.
This guy can rock a suit,
He's got that Silver Fox, Dos Equis kind of look.
Well, and from what we know about Kurt, I mean, Kurt is a nomad, Kurt's a world traveler, so Kurt could easily be some kind of high-grade espionage assassin, secret agent guy, and maybe he just doesn't tell us why he's in all these different places,
That is 99% of the time of how I feel about him.
Yeah.
Which makes me wonder why he occasionally fluctuates with his pledge. Because if people like him make such great money, you should be like our top pledge guy.
I don't know, man. Sometimes you're infiltrating like a crime ring or something. You gotta buy your way in, and sometimes Patreon pledge money, you gotta dip in. I would imagine, anyway. I'm not a professional espionage artist, but I would assume that in Kurt's life. Comment below, Kurt. Let us know.
Well, I'm glad we shot this at 6 a.m.
I am so glad we shot this at 6 a.m.